You got this, you got this, let's learn tonight.
Hi and welcome to You Got This. Have you ever tried to explain something only to realise that the other person completely misunderstood what you meant? Sometimes that leaves us feeling hurt and frustrated, or wondering if we should have explained ourselves differently. The good news, though, is that being misunderstood is a part of life, and there are simple ways to handle those moments with more confidence and less stress. This can happen to anyone. Today, I'd like to share some practical ideas that have helped me, and I hope they'll help you too. So grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and let's get started. Why does this matter? Because feeling misunderstood can affect much more than just one conversation. It can hurt our confidence. And then sometimes we wonder if we've said something wrong, even if we haven't. It can create stress and worry, and we might replay the conversation over and over in our minds, wishing we'd explained ourselves differently. If misunderstandings happen often, they can lead to arguments or create distance between people who care about each other. Over time, some people stop asking for what they need because they think, what's the point? No one understands me anyway. It doesn't have to stay that way. When we learn a few simple ways to communicate more clearly, people are more likely to understand us, and our relationships can grow stronger because of it. That's what today's video is all about. Why do people sometimes misunderstand us? Most of the time, nobody is trying to be unkind. People simply hear things differently. We all have different experiences, and those experiences shape the way we understand the world around us. Sometimes people are busy or distracted, so they don't really hear what we're saying anyway. And sometimes it's the situation around us. It might be noisy, someone may not hear us clearly, or English might not be their first language. Sometimes we think we've explained something clearly, but the other person understands something completely different. And sometimes people make assumptions before we've even finished talking. That's just part of being human. The important thing to remember, though, is misunderstandings happen to everybody. But the good news is that we can learn some simple ways to help people understand us better. So let's look at some simple tools that can help. We've talked about why misunderstandings happen, but before we look at the tools, let's look at a real life situation. Imagine you've had a long day. A family member makes a comment that hurts your feelings. And when you tell them you're upset, they say, "Oh, I was only joking." You might feel hurt, maybe confused, or frustrated, or even perhaps angry. These situations happen in families all the time, also at work and with friends. They're part of everyday life. So here's something to think about. How could you respond in a calm and respectful way? Don't worry if you're not sure, because by the end of this lesson, you'll have some simple tools to help you handle situations like this with more confidence. It's toolbox time. Let's look at 3 simple communication tools. These tools can help us when people don't understand us. They're easy to learn, and with a little practice, they become easier to use. The first tool is I statements. You may remember these from our last lesson. They help us to share how we feel. The second is ask for clarity. Clarity means making sure we understand. If we're not sure what someone means, it's okay to ask a question. The third tool is listen with attention. This means really listening to understand what the other person is saying. We'll look at each of these tools one at a time. You don't have to remember everything today. Just take one step at a time. Small tools can make a big difference. Okay, let's begin with our first tool. Our first tool is called I statement. This is one of my favourite tools because it's simple, but yet it makes a big difference. Instead of telling someone what they did wrong, an I statement explains how you feel. When people feel blamed, they often stop listening and start defending themselves. But when we calmly explain how something affects us, they're more likely to listen and understand. So, for example, instead of saying, "You're always joking about things," you could say, "I feel hurt when you joke about things that are important to me." Can you hear the difference? The second sentence doesn't attack the other person, it just simply explains how you feel. That makes it much easier to have a calm conversation instead of an argument. Remember, people don't always have to agree with our feelings, but they do deserve the chance to understand them. Our second tool is asking for clarity. This means asking a calm question instead of guessing what someone means. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "I think they're upset with me," but only to find out later they weren't upset at all? It happens more often than we realise. Sometimes we fill in the gaps with our own thoughts instead of checking the facts. A simple question can clear up a misunderstanding in just a few seconds. You could say, "Can I check what you meant by that?" Or, "I'm not sure I understood. Could you explain?" These questions aren't rude, they're respectful. They give the other person a chance to explain what they really meant. And they help us avoid making assumptions that can lead to unnecessary worry or hurt feelings. Remember, questions often open doors that assumptions close. When we feel misunderstood, it's natural to want to explain our own side of the story. But good communication works both ways. When someone feels heard, they're usually more willing to listen to us as well. Listening doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the other person says. It simply means giving them the chance to finish before you respond. A few small things can make a big difference. Look at the person. Put your phone away if you can. Try not to interrupt. A simple nod or saying, "I see," lets the other person know that you're listening to them. Then, when they're finished, it's your turn to speak. Listening with attention shows respect, and respect helps build trust. Remember, the goal isn't to win the conversation, the goal is to understand each other. Now it's your turn. Imagine you're in a situation and a family member says, "I was only joking," but you still feel hurt. What would you say? There isn't just one right answer. Everyone is different. I'd like you to pause the video for a moment and think of one sentence you could say that is both calm and honest. Take your time, and when you're ready, press play again and we'll look at some simple ways to respond. Let's look at a few simple ways you could respond. There isn't just one right answer, but these are good examples you can use in everyday life. First, share how you feel. You might say, "When you said that, I felt hurt." Next, ask for clarity. If you're not sure what someone meant, ask a calm question. For example, "Can I check what you meant by that?" Or, "I'm not sure I understood. Could you explain?" Finally, listen with attention. Sometimes when we really listen, we realize we got it wrong. You might say, "Thank you for explaining. I understand better now." Remember, good conversations happen when both people listen and both people feel heard. You don't have to agree on everything, but when we speak kindly and listen with respect, it's much easier to understand each other. Before we finish, I'd like you to take a moment to think. Can you remember a time when you felt misunderstood? Maybe it happened with a family member, or a friend, or someone at work. Think about what happened. And then ask yourself, was there one communication tool from today's lesson that might have helped? Could you have shared how you felt? Asked a calm question? Or listened with more attention? None of us gets it right every time. I know I don't. But the important thing is every conversation gives us a chance to learn and grow. And next time, you'll have a few more tools to help. Let's see what we've learnt today. Can you tick these off? Do you know how to use I statements to share how you feel? Do you know how to ask for clarity instead of guessing what someone means? Can you listen with attention and really hear the other person? Do you remember that misunderstandings happen to everyone? And do you know that good communication is something we can all learn? I hope this video helps to make your communication better. Before we finish, I'd like to give you one small challenge this week. Don't try to use all of the ideas at once. Just choose one. Maybe you could pause before you answer someone. Maybe you could try one of the communication tools we learned today. Or maybe you could simply notice one conversation that goes a little better. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I help someone understand me a little better today? If the answer is yes, that's great. If the answer is no, that's okay too, because tomorrow is another chance to practice. Remember, small steps make a big difference, one conversation at a time. We've come to the end of today's learning. I hope one or two of these ideas help the next time you feel misunderstood. Remember, stay calm, be kind, be honest, respect yourself and the other person too, and keep your message clear. Feeling misunderstood happens to everyone sometimes. The important thing is to keep learning and keep practicing. Every conversation is another chance to do things a little differently. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this lesson, I'd really appreciate it if you would like my video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who might find it helpful. That way, more people can learn these simple life skills, and you'll know when the next video is ready. If you'd like to support my work, you can also buy me a coffee. You'll find the link below and also in the description of this video. Until next time, take care of yourself. You got this.